Hi everyone, this is a tutorial about how to make paint out of household powders. So for this part you're going to need a blender, some beets, a strainer and a bowl, a spatula, a baking tray, and some wax paper. So you're going to want to put your beets in the blender with some water just to make sure that they blend thoroughly. You blend them on high until they're made into a smooth paste. Then you're going to want to put the paste through your strainer and into the bowl so that you can get all of the liquid out and just mostly have a gritty paste-like substance. Next, you're going to want to prepare your baking pan with a sheet of wax paper so that your paste doesn't stick to the baking tray. You want to scoop that paste that you made before and spread it out onto the baking sheet so that it'll all be nice and dehydrated. Next, you put it in your oven at 200 degrees and leave it there overnight. I left it in for about 8 hours and it ended up pretty dehydrated, looking kind of like this. Next, you're going to want to peel it off of the wax paper. Mine was giving me a little bit of trouble, but you just it's like a chip-like consistency, so you just chip it off. And I'm putting it in a grinder. I don't have a spice grinder, so it's the bottles from if you have like a spice that comes with a grinder on top. This was a bottle that we had already gone through, so I was just using the spice grinder from it after it was like washed. Next, you're going to want to grind all of the beet chips through the spice grinder. I just grabbed another bowl to collect the powder out of the grinder. If you still have some larger chunks, I was using the back of a spoon to crush them into even smaller grains. I grabbed another bowl and took back out that strainer that we had from before and pushed the powder through to get it just as fine of a powder as we can get. Now I'm just pouring that powder into a container so that we have it for later when we're making paint. Next, I'm going to crush up a chalk pastel to make that into a powder as another option for making paint with. You're going to want to just take a palette knife, or any kind of knife would probably do, to just crush the, to cut the NuPastel into small pieces and then crush it with the flat part of the blade. To mold paint, we're going to need some more materials like gloves, a palette knife, a dropper. This one I've used in the past specifically for oil, a glass palette, which is on the table in front of me, and some containers to store the paint in. I'll have the full list of materials in the description below. First, you're going to want to take your powder and make a small volcano shape out of it. Just push it into a pile and make a hole in the top with your palette knife. Next, you're going to want to take some linseed oil in your dropper and put a few drops into the hole of that volcano that we had before. And then you're going to want to push it around and mix it thoroughly with your palette knife. You want to make small circular movements with the knife to make sure the grains of your powder are nice and small and mixed in. Then you're just going to want to scoop up your paint into one of those containers from before. And then you're going to want to label it so that you have it for later and you know which of your paint is which. Mine are all different colors, so it's pretty easy to tell, but just in case. Next, I'm going to make paint with some matcha powder that I have. Mine is from Trader Joe's, but I have an abundance of it because I work at a Starbucks and we were closing, so we were allowed to take home the open powders. But you can really just get this at any grocery store, and you're following the same steps as you did the first time. The matcha powder is a little bit stickier than the NuPastel, so you might need a little bit more oil. You're going to want to add your oil a little bit at a time, just so that it doesn't get too watered down and thin. Next, I'm doing turmeric, just another spice that I had in my house that I thought might make an interesting paint color because it dyes everything it touches neon yellow. This is just straight out of the bottle. And last but not least, here's our beet powder. Now this one ends up being more of a textured paint than a color. You can add it on to mix it in with other paints to make them textured, or just add it on top, and if you apply it thick, it'll have a nice like sienna textured surface. I hope you learned something new and interesting.